Hello, everybody, and welcome to World Talks. My name is Don Arleth. Let's go ahead and start off with the delegation of Slovak Parliament. Well, they're in Moscow. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico first rejected proposals to solve the problematic solution that arose after Ukraine cut off gas transit through its territory from Russia to Europe. Today, he invited the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, to talks about gas supplies to Slovakia. We'll try to explain what this political dispute is all about with our guest, Ivan Štefanec, a Slovak MEP from the European People's Party. Hello, and thank you very much for joining me on World Talks.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, now Slovak politicians were received with great attention by the Speaker of the lower house of the Russian Parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin. Russian media show that his visit is, well, they show it as evidence of normal relations with the West. Were Slovak MEPs aware that they would become useful idiots for Russian propaganda?
Definitely. Unfortunately, first of all, this is a big shame for Slovakia that representatives from Slovak Parliament, they came to Russia to meet people from European sanction list. This is really very interesting situation because Slovak representative, first of all, they agreed to put these people from Russia on the sanction list, but at the same time, they are going to meet them. So basically, strictly saying, they violate their own sanctions. But we know that political aspect of this shameful visit is that they serve Russian propaganda. And the objective for Russia is to undermine European unity, and that's the conclusion what they are doing. Basically, they undermine European unity because, as we know, Russia puts all European Union countries, including Slovakia, on the enemy list, and it doesn't change even today.
Well, and how much do you think that this is for Russian domestic consumption as compared to consumption in Slovakia?
Well, there is consumption of Russia, first of all, serving, as I said, Russian propaganda, but you are right, this is serving also to some people in Slovakia who are under Russian hybrid war, who are under heavy misinformation campaign, and also they serve Russian propaganda. So Mr. Danko, who is Vice Speaker of Slovak Parliament, he is really pro-Russian servant. He is strongly pro-Russia against EU. He was always very skeptical against EU. The same, like for example, AfD in Germany, or new party which won basically elections in Austria. So this phenomenon is across the European Union, and Danko is serving Russian propaganda, but at the same time serving pro-Russian people in Slovakia who are still, fortunately, not in majority, but the signal is here. This is the shame for Slovakia, the shame for them, and at the same time, I do believe this is really betrayal of homeland.
Now, obviously, this is over the transit being shut off in Ukraine to Slovakia of Russian gas. Were these parliamentarians right to go to Moscow? Shouldn't they be going to Kyiv?
Yes, they should go to Kyiv. If they would like to do something, they should go to Kyiv, not to Moscow, because we know that they would not do anything. They cannot manage anything in Russia. They just send wrong political signals. And at the same time, they are not even raising the voice against Russia, asking them to stop this criminal invasion of Ukraine. So this is the big shame, and this is the international scandal which is caused by Slovak representatives, unfortunately. But talks about gas, it is only, I would say, this is only something behind, because we know for a year that Ukraine will not prolong this gas transit to Slovakia and to Europe. So it was old story. But now this story is misused by Mr. Fico as Slovak Prime Minister, Mr. Danko as Vice Chairman of Slovak Parliament and other pro-Russian propagandists saying that basically Ukraine is guilty. They blame Ukraine, but they should blame Russia first of all, because Russia started this criminal invasion, this terrorist acts, and they have not stopped. They continue with killing and basically doing all the terrorist activities in Ukraine. So only one country which should be blamed, this is Russia, not Ukraine.
Yeah, it seems like they should also blame themselves for not taking the ample time that they had to prepare for this scenario. I want to put out a tweet that President Zelensky just tweeted out moments ago. Let's see if we can get that up. Do we have? We don't have it? Okay, so in this tweet, President Zelensky, this was Robert Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia, who invited President Zelensky to the border area with Ukraine and Slovakia to have joint negotiations between the governments. And of course, the question now is that do you think President Zelensky is going to be very receptive, or at least anyway receptive, to Prime Minister Fico's demand to allow transit through Ukraine?
No, I don't think so. And this is still part of Russian game. This is part of Russian game, which is trying to put the blame on Ukraine, that Ukraine is guilty, but this is not the substance. We know that Russia is guilty for the war. Russia is guilty for even not putting gas to Europe. But on the other side, the question is, do we want to have this gas? Do we would like to still put money into Putin's machine? I'm very happy that finally Ukraine stopped this gas, because I don't want to supply Russian budget and Russian soldiers for doing all the criminal activities. I think we should do it 2-3 years before to not buy from Russia gas and crude oil. Fortunately, now it is the reality that we don't want to continue. We do not continue with using Russian gas, and we should not come back. So finally, Ukrainians did it, and Ukrainians also, they will lose some money from transit fees, but they know that they don't want to fill Russian war machine. And we, European Union countries, we should do it even before. The right thing is not to finance Russia for these criminal activities, because at the same time, we fill the budget for our enemies. We know, all of us, that if Russia would succeed in Ukraine, they would not stop in Ukraine. They would continue with Poland, Slovakia, and other countries. So we should be wise enough to not buy Russian gas and crude oil, because still roughly half of Russian budget is filled by income from energy. And that's the reason why we should isolate them and not paying them for gas and other raw materials.
Yes. Now, talking about the economics of this, it's not that Slovakia will go cold due to a lack of gas. Robert Fico has said that it will cost about €1 billion to import gas from the West. Is the economic impact quite as bad as he says, or is he trumping this up to be a bigger economic problem for Slovakia than it really will be?
It is not as big economical problem as Robert Fico is saying, but I have to say it is a negative impact, of course, because every transport fee to get gas to Slovakia would be more expensive. That's the matter of fact. But we know that Slovakia would lose this transit fees for gas even before, because Czech Republic and Germany, they are more or less already isolated from Russian gas. They do not need Russian gas anymore. And Slovakia now is also interconnected with all surrounding countries, with Poland, Czech Republic, Austria, and Hungary. By the way, it was the European project to pay this infrastructure connection for gas after 2009 gas crisis caused by Russia. So now we have enough gas for this year. Now we have all interconnection with all surrounding countries, so we can get gas from anywhere we would like to have. Basically, we can get gas from LNG from around the world. There will be some economic impact, but even Slovak gas company says that it will be up to 200 million euro a year, and it is not more the figure like billion euros as Robert Fico is saying. So some negative impact it will be, but we should expect that because it is not new story. Robert Fico is trying just to misuse this story against Ukraine, but this was the situation which Slovakia should prepare for not transiting gas from east to west even at least a year ago.
Well, let's talk about that. Robert Fico's reluctance to, let's say, prepare for such a scenario that the transit would be cut off by the first of this year. Did that exacerbate the prices or the trade conditions which currently endure taking gas from the West? Had he prepared earlier, would the economic burden have been less?
Yes, and unfortunately, he has not prepared for that. At least he has not done anything for the whole year. But good news for Slovakia is that Slovak gas company, which is in charge of gas supply for the whole Slovak territory, they did it. So Slovakia diversified and we have enough gas. But Robert Fico is just trying to misuse this situation, saying that it will be problem, it will be big scandal, and we will need more money, and he tries to even to exaggerate his figures. Situation is not as bad as Robert Fico is saying, and situation is not new and as he is saying. Once again, Slovakia has enough gas, at least for a year. We have gas storage fulfilled basically based on European legislation. That was the initiative by European Parliament 2 years ago, that we should have before each winter at least 70% of gas storage fulfilled. It was the case, so we are ready, and Slovakia is prepared for this winter, and not only for this winter, for the whole year. Unfortunately, we have politicians who are pro-Russian politicians, and they not only undermine European unity, but still they misuse this situation against our major neighbor, which is suffering, and this is Ukraine.
Which brings me to my final question, that is the possibilities that Slovakia could make some kind of arrangements to take Russian gas via the southern route. Is that still a possibility, maybe not for this year, but potentially for next year?
Yes, theoretically it is. It is possible via Turk Stream, via connection from Hungary. It is possible via LNG terminals from around the world, for example, even from south, from Croatia or from north. And there is a possibility to do that. Question is if we would like to get it. Currently, Robert Fico probably he wants to continue, but Slovak state company SPP, which is in charge of gas supply for the Slovak territory, they are not eager to do so. So now this is the political versus economical question, and I think this is also a moral question where we would like to help aggressor, where we would like to supply money to Kremlin to continue this criminal invasion. I think, first of all, this is the moral question, and the moral question is the substance of all sanction policies which is agreed by European Union.
All right. Well, let's hope that Russian gas doesn't find its way to Slovakia. Ivan Štefanec, a Slovak MEP from the European People's Party. Thank you, sir, for joining me today.
Thank you indeed. All the best.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. Thank you all for joining us, and stick around for more here on TVP World.